Ghana for nyina ebisa se adentia ye cedi no tisia na hoɔden aba fam as against the dollar or for Bank of Ghana governor Nankasa Johnson is here ma waba abontia ɔde ne numu nsɛm nyina betu dua so far no nhyehyɛ a ɔmo yɛ as against the cedi performance against the dollar no kyerɛ nhyehyɛ a governor of the Bank of Ghana any just a finance minister at 2 force nyina no mo yɛ no sɛ na be ya cedi beto ebekɔ so nya na hoɔden as against the dollar no Bank of Ghana governor no sɛ na waba abontia ɔde sansɛm nyina betu dua mso begye nyina brɛ ɛwɔ Ghana chirofo aha Ghana chirofo dimechi na yenkoti nsɛm a governor of the Bank of Ghana Mohamed Johnson Isiama waba abontin nhyehyɛ a ɛkɔso ɔmɔde gugu akwan mu ɔne finance minister Mohamed ɔmo collaborate sɛ na be ya cedi no bɛkɔso enya hoɔden as against the dollar Mohamed sɛ nkyɛ bia no na cedi performance no was very good as against the dollar and I was 10 cedis see no dollar na say page ni mu na cedi no the value no gusu dropping kitten but Bank of Ghana governor no waba abontin say omo ye nhyehyɛ kama say na be ya bibia bekoso yie say na be ya cedi no bekoso enya na hoɔden bio as against the dollar do man ko ne akɔgye sansɛm mu nyina nkyerɛ mu Bank of Ghana governor no ne mbra gisi a Ghanatube so
350 basis points to 21.5%. The committee will continue to monitor macroeconomic developments and take appropriate policy decisions as and when necessary to reinforce the disinflation process. Now, let me also announce an additional measure on the net open position limits for banks. The decision has been made for the single currency NOP limit, which has been plus and minus 5%. This has been revised to between 0% and minus 10%, which will be effective from the 1st of October. And that meeting, as always, will conclude on 19th November 2025 with the announcement of a new policy decision. I thank you for your attention. Yes, His Excellency said it clearly. He also made it clear that the investigations were ongoing. There's a committee that is working on that. I don't have to preempt their work. When they are done, I'm sure the Minister of Finance will communicate the details to the public, and then we'll know what happens thereafter. So for now, spare me the trouble. The committee will come clear when they are done. Then Morris, you were asking about the cedi being allowed to find its true value. Well, that is true. Excessive volatility in the cedi. But yes, you will see movement in the cedi, all right. Just that we don't want to see it excessively. So yes, the president put it right that the cedi will find its true value. Then you mentioned, Morris, that businesses were complaining that they cannot get dollars. I'm not sure if that is true. As of yesterday, I don't think there was a single demand for dollars from the banks that was not met. The head of financial markets is here, can confirm. We've been doing this for a number of weeks. And so I'm not sure. I don't think as of today, anybody out there will say that their bank is unable to secure financing for their imports. As we always say, it may be due to some documentation issues or other related issues, but we have to take them on case-by-case basis. We support the markets. The banks themselves also trade among themselves. And through all those channels, we are able to, fund imports. And that's what I can say about that. Then ECHO. Drop in reserves. So first of all, you have to put it into context. There's been, a lot of accumulation. But also remember what we have done in the last 3 months. A number of lumpy payments to IPPs, bondholders, sovereign bondholders, that got their money out. These were legitimate, payments that we had to make. And so don't be surprised if you see some dip But what is important is that the trend is upward. You just have to plot it and look upward. The trend is upward. So don't be bothered at all. Look at it in context. Don't just look at the last 3 months and then get alarmed. Somebody asked about non-interest banking. Yes, Professor Gachi is here. He's been doing an excellent job at it. We've done a lot of sensitization. They are almost to the end. I believe something is going to Parliament, and then thereafter we can get to the implementation phase. Whether we can see licensing of these by the end of the year, we are doing our best. Let's see what happens. As you are aware, Parliament is on recess, I guess. And so when they come back later in October or so, we'll take them and see how far we can go with that. But the commitment remains the same. We are pushing ahead with that effort. Then the last one, Toma, my good friend, the regulatory forbearance that, as you mentioned, we gave them up to December 2025 this year. We are not there yet. And so when we get to December, we will reassess the whole framework, and then we'll be guided. So again, the last one first, High Street Journal, about remittances. Well, the banks have, they have confirmed that they've observed a decline, in terms of remittance inflows. And so, yes, the evidence is there. Formerly, they were getting more of these inflows, which they were using to support imports. And so earlier in the year, there was quite, a substantial amount of interbank trading. And when that happens, the central bank wouldn't have to support the market that much. Suddenly, the flows have reduced. And so, yes, the evidence is there. But we are working on it. Remember, we introduced a number of measures about a month or so ago. We are beginning to see the dividends from those measures that we have announced. We are beginning to see some of the IMTOs, beginning to, reroute those flows back into the country. And our desire is to see greater levels of interbank market appreciation of the CD may have played a role. Yes, it could have. But what's important is that we've taken a number of measures to bring back those flows into the economy. Then the end year inflation target, yes, we are confident, barring any new shocks, that end year inflation will certainly fall within the target band. Whether we are revising the end year target, no, that decision hasn't been taken as yet. What is important is that we achieve that medium term, target, and then we are able to stay within that target. So we haven't revised the end year figure for inflation. Then the next question was on the stability of the CD, whether this was considered, by the MPC in reaching this decision. Yes, very much so. If you read the statement, we spoke about, strong sterilizing about those FX measures that was announced to suspend FX withdrawals by the large corporates. For now, it is a permanent measure. We observed that there were certain practices where some of these large corporates who really do not need FX cash, locally, were withdrawing such sums, and then those sums were ending up, elsewhere. And so we met with the banks. I mean, these things are done upon consultations. We met with the banks, we discussed it, and we came to the conclusion that for the large corporates, we can suspend those direct withdrawals. However, if it is FX that they deposited themselves, cash, into those accounts, it's their own money. So they are entitled to it without charge. Then the virtual assets bill, Suleiman, you asked about it. Yes, we've done a lot of work on the bill. The bill is ready. It's now at the Attorney General's department. We are on course with that. Now, the judge the gold hedging program. The head of financial markets department is here. We are on course with that as well. You know, these things take a lot of discussions. You have to look at a number of calibrations. We've gone through all that. We are in the final stages now, and I'm sure very, very soon that risk management tool will be finalized. Then again, George, you were asking why the markets are not responding to the data that we have. That's my point, exactly the point I always make. We released, the data yesterday, and you could see where the economy is. If you look at our reserves, like I said, look at the data over the last 7 years. Don't just look at, the last 7 months, and then, you go into a frenzy. Look at the data over the last 7 years. You can see clearly that even if you look at it over the past 1 year, the trend is upward. So if you see a little blip, it doesn't mean things are getting out of hand. The trend is still upward. And as I've mentioned, we are entering the cocoa season. Gold is picking up, remittances, because of the Forex measures, the measures that we have announced, we are beginning to see a return of those inflows. So yes, we'll build up our reserves of Forex interbank market trading. And so all those measures are very much intended to contain the pressure on the cedi, notwithstanding the fact that we lowered the policy rate. So I encourage all of you, the media, please make use of our data. That should inform you on what is happening in the economy, whether there should be a pressure on the cedi. If you ask me, there's really no reason why anybody, should be anxious about the cedi. Like I said, as of yesterday, every import demand that any of the 23 banks, submitted to us as of yesterday was met. And we'll be meeting this for a number of weeks now. So where is the anxiety coming from? We have enough reserves to support whatever import.
Orofo when sema abetudwa from the Bank of Ghana Governor Nankasa no Johnson Isiama and waba bontin all this news we nyina e dey Ghana for see amanfo bebre na aka se omukọ banks omukọ $1 bi na ade a omunya o se da bi anya no kre okọ banks na ade na se $1 ono Bank of Ghana Governor no omu make sure say enough dollar e was system in the mobile into the banks no okoho na se also $1 obenye bi e bia na o documentation bi mo na ade na nkoyi but enye no krese dollar eni ho so pe opese okofa dollar bia na so pese okotisa dollar bia o se enye no krese amanfo ka se bi ni orofo we ene yen sema eye nyanka se governor Bank of Ghana Governor no ho Johnson Isiama odi aba mso bi nyina bre o Ghanatube fuma mo fi se mobile like no ma subscribe no ma share no ma hit notification bell so ama se ne be ya abri do content say ya wo wonya ne tempa no wa hwe ni tem modo for aha ana be de nsem nyina be si Ghanatube so makra mo nyina meda mo nyina se bebre